And a 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Beat Grinder, your weekly dose of high school football in Connecticut. And I'm your host, Sean Patrick Boley, with you as always. And look who's back. It's Pete Paguaga. Welcome back, Pete. It's been since November since we last saw you here. We missed you. I don't know if you saw it last year, but we were able to replay our picks of the beginning of the season's episode, the preseason episode, which is what we're going to do here, the championship picks, and we'll be able to use you from the past to declare for and have it you from the past talk to me during the present. And it was really funny. If you have a chance, I don't know if I ever told you we did that, if you got a chance to see it, but it was great. Welcome back, Pete. We missed you. How you been?
Yeah, good. I'm glad to be back. Glad to be back on the show. Glad to be back talking high school football.
Yeah, I mean, we missed you, and I can't believe it's already here. This is the 2025 preseason high school football show. I mean, which means I am in a quarter century of covering high school football in Connecticut, which just blows my mind. I got the big 5-0 coming up this year, which I've been doing this half my life now, which is just crazy to me. So I'm excited. I gotta say though, Pete, I had a little bit of an issue in the summertime. Had to get some unexpected surgery, nothing serious. But it caused me to lose like a week and a half. People were practicing and getting out there already, and I am the least prepared in all my 25 years of covering high school football than I am right now. I didn't get to see any scrimmages, other than the great work most of you guys did on the preview section, which is going to be should be out by the time you watch this on Saturday and Sunday in your local Hearst, Connecticut newspaper of choosing. We have a big tab that comes out there. So that's the only way, like everybody else, that I was able to learn about everything. I made a few phone calls here and there, but really just awesome work by you guys. There's lots of feature stories, lots of top players. We had 50 players to watch, which dropped just the other day. Already we're getting a lot of emails about that. Where's my guy? Where's me? And all that stuff that comes with it. And 50 players to watch. What are you going to do? But be sure to check all that stuff out. But Pete, great job this year as always. I mean, I'm sure it was tough.
It was. I will give credit to the coaches. We decided to send out the preview form in early July because of year-round coaching, and we thought maybe some coaches would want to fill it out and get it out of the way, and they did. So we started off really strong. We had to chase, some coaches if you're listening, and we had to chase you. It's never fun, but we appreciate the fact that you guys send it in. I think we didn't hear from 4 teams, which was pretty impressive out of 136.
Not bad.
And they're great. And there's a lot of names, a lot of top players. Our reporters absolutely grinded. Did just such a great job getting them done on time, having them out. Go check out the master list if you're looking for a school. It's just so much information there. And for those of you who complained about it being by a paywall, it's like 25 cents for the entire football season. Yeah. So go to your couch, stick your hand between a cushion, pull out a quarter or 2 dimes and a nickel. And I'm telling you, man, it is so worth it.
Or just use your app, right?
That too. Or... Yeah. Apple Pay.
Right. Or whatever you got to do to get there. I mean, I remember the people who complain about paying for stuff, you guys are spoiled. It used to be back in the day, you had to pay for the stuff. Yeah, 25 cents, 50 cents, whatever. But, it's not free. We do a lot of work over here.
We drive all around. We make a ton of phone calls. We try to get every team. Those trips to Killingly aren't cheap. It's a lot of gas. But, it's what we love to do. And if you like us and you like this and you like the show and you like all the coverage that, Sean and myself do on top of our staff, it helps us.
Yeah, absolutely. We got lots to cover today. We always do at the preseason episode. Lots of changes happen, lots of coaching moves, lots of new programs, new divisions. GameTimeCT Top 10, which dropped on Friday. We already know what that is, but if you haven't, stick around. We'll get to that in a second, or just fast forward, whatever you want to do. But before we begin, I just want to let everyone know this is our GameTimeCT Meat Grinder podcast. We do this every week. We could recap the week that was and then look ahead to the week that's going to be. So be sure to like and subscribe to GameTimeCT on our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, where we have videos from the games on game night and lots of feature stories. These feature videos, those guys are our guys did a lot of good work on that too. And of course, go to GameTimeCT.com to get all the stories so you don't miss anything, including the weekly poll and everything that we do in covering not just football, but all of high school sports in Connecticut. We do the entire state. So make sure you do that. Smash the like button and subscribe, especially so you don't miss a meat grinder. So
and leave comments. Leave comments. We want to hear from you.
Yes.
We like the comments.
Oh, yeah.
We like the
absolutely.
We like the appropriate comments.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Nothing crazy, but please let us know how we're doing, what we can do to change. If you have any questions, maybe something we screwed up somewhere down the line, but absolutely let us know what you think of how we're doing, and that's great. We'll continue to try and improve as we go through the season. But kind of starting off the top of the show, there were some guys that, coaches are a bunch of new coaches and a lot of new faces, but we'll kind of start off as the guys who we actually lost this year. They do at the end, toward the end of the Oscars. We're going to do a little bit here in remembrance. And the really big name that kind of dropped this season, there were two of them, but one big one was New London's Jim Buonocore Sr. He died this year at the age of 91. A guy who grew up in New London. He was part of the school's first graduating class in 1952. He was a coach for 56 years, Pete, including head coach at New London, a program he made into a powerhouse for 30 years. From 1969 to 1999, he compiled a 208 95-8 record, which is the 20th most in state history as we talk now, and won 4 state championships, 83, 89, 91, and 92. And those last two were against Ansonia. So, and then he was able to continue coaching with his son, Jim Buonocore Jr., who was obviously coached at Stonington, Fitch, and then Ledyard, and now he's the assistant principal there at Ledyard and AD. So our condolences to Jimmy Buonocore and his whole family and all the New London family. Roger Cleveland did a really nice story on him in a night that if you need to want to learn more about Jim Buonocore Sr., you should really check out. I didn't get a chance to cover any of his teams. He was out in the ECC, but even by then he wasn't a head coach anymore. So, great loss. But, hey, great life. Age 91, and a lot of kids swear by him. So our condolences to the Buonocore family. Elsewhere, obviously a big one in the baseball world, Pete, over the spring, or I don't remember when it was actually, but the great Bob DeMayo, who coached 64 years and won 937 games and 5 state championships at North Haven, died at the age of 92. And you say, well, that's great. And RIP and condolences. What does that have to do with football? Well, people always forget, and they seem to forget, that he was also a football coach at North Haven for a very long time. In fact, current coach Tony Sagnella replaced him in 1997. And so he was a part of the old Hoosie League, and it was very early beginnings of the SEC. But Coach DeMayo was a really good football coach as well as baseball. Obviously, he knows the baseball, almost 1,000 games he won there, and we had a lot of fun covering him. I mean, Pete, you covered him a lot more than I did over the last few years. Your thoughts on Bob?
Bob was all time. I mean, you talk to him, you learn something. So many interviews in his truck that was so wildly unsafe to drive. I mean, that truck was just so beaten up. I always remember, I love to tell this story, when he was chasing 900. I covered a lot of the games. I covered 897, 898, 899, and I was at 900. But there were a couple losses thrown in there. And obviously, as media changed with online and print deadlines changing, some of those games didn't get into the paper. Some of them only ran online. And he came up to me after he lost 899, and he just made a beeline right for me. And he's like, I have to ask you a question. And I'm like, uh-oh, like, what did I do? And he's like, why do my losses only go in the paper and my wins always go online? And I was like, I just looked and I was like, Joe Morelli? And he goes, yeah. I go, call Joe. He'll be able to answer that for you. I was like, I'm passing this off. It had nothing to do with me, but it was really special to be there the night he won 900. And then obviously, to cover him in state championships and really get to know him. I know a lot of the baseball players really loved him and cared about him and were proud to be a part of, those 937 wins or whatever it was. You know, even when he retired, I remember I wrote the story when he stepped down. He had told me their last game. I covered it. I was the only one there, and I just had a weird feeling. So I went, and they lost to Lyman Hall. And I remember talking to him after, and he wasn't as like chipper as he used to be. Even after a loss, he was always like, you know, like excited, but like, you know, more like you could see the excitement through like the disappointment of losing. He just seemed like it was kind of his time, and I just had this weird feeling. And then he resigned maybe a month later, or retired a month later, and he was honored by the CIAC baseball. The championship, the tournament was in his honor. He wasn't able to attend. It was raining, and I don't think he was doing too well. But we got to see his family, and they were honored before the game, and it was really nice. It would have been great to have him there to get to talk to him one last time. But you know, Bob is one of the all-time guys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone.
He is the original dude.
Yeah, obviously a lot of people when you play North Haven baseball, it was all small ball, get the bunts down, move the guys over, you know, lots of old school National League stuff, and you know, and he just found ways to win everything. I was at 700, which was against Seymour, and he won the state championship baseball final to win 700, which was absolutely amazing. To a way to get a milestone win like that against Seymour. And my good old friend, the late great Bobby Kello, you know, also another football coach turned baseball coach. We miss Bobby too, but yeah, I mean, just an all-time great guy. Everyone just loves Bob DeMayo. We're gonna miss him sorely, but a football coach. Remember that he was also a football coach. He's an old school guy. You know, the last passing we saw this past year was on February, where my good buddy George Szala, who nobody really, you know, you see a lot of fans in your travels, you kind of go around and, you know, you see some guys constantly at certain games, you see another, and then you see him again at another game, and you see him again at another game. Next thing you know, you get to talk, because you're both going to all these games, you get to talking to him. And this was a guy who just loved football. He loved CIS football. He's from Bloomfield, grew up in Hartford, worked for Aetna Life Insurance Company, and but over the last few years, at least since the pandemic, I really got to know George Szala, and he died on February 12th, just unexpectedly. I don't remember the last game I saw him at, but he was a guy who really gave me a lot of like little insider stuff on games that I couldn't attend on Saturdays or even Fridays. You know, he would go if he wouldn't go to the big game every week. He would go to small games. I want to see this team. Oh, I want to see East Catholic. He would kind of stay generally in the Hartford area, and you know, just a little guy walking around. You might have saw him. He couldn't be. I mean, geez, he couldn't have been.
He wasn't taller than us.
Yeah,
he wasn't taller than us, and that's not hard.
Which is saying something. He was. I mean, he must have been. He didn't pat. Maybe he was like 4'8". He's just a small little guy running around out there, and he went, "Hey, Sean, hey, I come over here. I checked out the Tolland." I'm like, Tolland against Plainfield or Plainview.
He was one of your spies.
Yes, yeah. When I would announce on Twitter, my spies say over here that this team, he would be at a game and he would text me the results. I'm like, all right, well, keep me updated. And you know, if there was like a fight going on or if someone got tossed, he would let me know all those things. So you know, a guy is going to be sorely missed. Died at age 75. Just a really great guy. And those guys, and those kind of guys I don't see a lot of anymore. You know, Bobby Kuzo is another guy. He was the one who told me that George had died. And Bobby Kuzo is a guy who would get around a lot and see a lot of games. You know, health kind of prevented him from doing like a lot of the hard traveling they used to do. But he still gets out there. And George is just one of those guys, an all-time great. And I'm going to miss him sorely. So, you know, as far as that goes, those are the guys who will remember. You know, there were also some huge coaching moves this past offseason. Probably one of the biggest kind of earthquakes, seismic shifts here in the football landscape. And on let's go to the top. Tom Brockett and Ansonia unexpectedly resigning after 20 years, 8 state championships in it was 13 appearances, meaning like all but 7 years they went to the finals. He won 215 games. He's the all-time winningest coach in Ansonia history. He's up in there on the national. I mean, he only lost 18 times for crying out loud. Which you think of it, that's one loss per year. He was 18 seasons overall. One loss per year, Ansonia average. I don't care who you are. That is ridiculous. And we were able to honor Tom at our first GameTimeCT award show, which it was on our website. Check that out. But we were able to honor him a bit, and it was because number one, a couple things. One, we had to make mention of the fact he's never been on the podcast, but he's also never been Coach of the Year, which is just kind of an oversight on our spot. But it was good to honor him at that. And hey, listen, his kids are getting old. He's got a boy and two daughters who are growing up. They're growing up fast, and he wants to be a dad for them. And it was a shock though that he was able to finally kind of say that enough has been enough. But he went into that job. Jack Hunt was in the exact position he is now. Jack Hunt kind of resigned, and he named Tom Brockett as his one of his top assistants to take over. And we're all like, well, who's this guy? That was kind of part of what I was saying at the award show. Who's this guy, and can he live up to what Jack Hunt just did? Well, not only did he live up to it, he surpassed it, which is saying something. He was a great advocate for the sport, and we're gonna really miss Tom and his really blasé answers at post game, but don't get him started on Thanksgiving, man. He'll bite your head off. So we're gonna miss Tom out there. He'll still be out there as an AD role, but as a dad, most importantly. So that was huge. And then another one which came out of nowhere was Rob Fleeting of Windsor. Just took his team to the state final, 2 in the last 4 years. State finals, no state championship since 2015. He unexpectedly resigned to take an assistant principal job. Unfortunately for him, too much to his chagrin, he couldn't do both. And so he had to kind of turn the reins over to his son Quinn. We'll get into all those coaches later, but Rob Fleeting, another guy who was just success, followed him everywhere he went. He was at Southern. Pete knows this as a Southern guy. He's been coaching since '93. He got his first head job at Weaver, and his first season as head coach won a state championship. How about that? Just like Tom Brockett, though. So Tom Brockett like one state championship. I did 2 in my first 2 years. But Rob won. He was 144-29 at Windsor. And they were always knocking on the door at state titles. They always had NFL players, like caliber players, not just college players. I mean, Jason Pinnock's still kicking around with the 49ers right now. You had Tyler Coyle, who was in there, and lots of really good players. Of course, Rob also coached Asaph Schwab, the Notre Dame back, who also got drafted, who's going to play for the Cowboys, but the late, great Asaph Schwab, who died young. But Fleet was, one of those guys who very quiet, but when you got him mad, man, look out. And
but everything he said had purpose. Everything that came out of his mouth had a purpose behind it.
Yeah,
he didn't.
Absolutely.
He was short with words, but each word meant something, and still does. I got to see him at Rip It and Rip It this year, and it was really good to just talk to him when he wasn't coaching and being involved. And he's just a wealth of football knowledge.
You kind of had, when you interviewed Rob, you kind of had to have like everybody like stay away, because if you had any kind of background noise, you could not pick up what he was saying. He's got a very low voice. Yeah. Well, you're like, what? Wait, I got to raise the volume on my camera. I'm like, oh shoot, here we go with Rob. But Rob, obviously, great coach. We're gonna miss him. But
he'll be back. He'll be back. We will see Rob again. I think we'll see Rob again. I honestly think we'll see Tom again. But
yeah, well, we'll see about that. Tom said this is not.
Maybe we could do a segment on the show. We could do Tinfoil Hat Pete, because I have some tinfoil hat theories.
Well, Tom says he's not. That was it. He's not coaching anymore. I mean, as far as a head coach goes, at least. Yeah. He's not going anywhere else. We'll see. You know how that goes, at least in the college ranks. Those guys always say that. And then right before practice started, this is the last one, right before practice started, we got word that Rich Boshea, who had taken West Haven to 2 consecutive state finals in Double L the last 2 years, stepped down as head coach of West Haven. He'd been a player and then a coach. He was Eddie McCarthy's right-hand man at school for like 3 decades. And then he took over for Eddie McCarthy in 2015. And they've had a lot of success, but not better than the last 2 seasons. I mean, other than they came, inches away from winning a state championship in that classic against Staples in 2023. He thought he could. I haven't talked to Rich yet, and I wish him well. But by all accounts, he was trying to go for one more year. But obviously he had battled cancer, and he had reconstructive surgery on his throat and on his. They had to rebuild his tongue amazingly, but he's been having little health issues with that. He hasn't been able to talk to the kids as much as he was been able to, and some with that and some other stuff around the margins. That he said, it's time to hang it up. And Tom Unger is now the interim coach there at West Haven. So that was an unexpected move. And let's kind of take a look at all the other new coaches, the guys who have kind of stepped into the roles here. It's big youth movement. I mean, we have a big story. Brian Carpenter wrote about it on GameTimeCT. And 7 new coaches this year are under the age of 30, Pete. And wild. Most of them either played at their school, and then so they're coaching at the school they played at, like Dario Highsmith or Phil Cohen at Valley. Or they at least spent time as an assistant before being elevated. And I count 4 former starting quarterbacks at their schools. Then we also have 2 head coaches who were great at their schools for a while, and then they both for different reasons, both resigned or were basically ran out. In the case of John Capodice, ran out of town in Berlin. Now he is back, and so is Sean Marinan of Xavier, 5-time championship coach. So those 2 coaches who were back for their second stint as head coach, and so that was a shock. I mean, Capodice we could get to, but that was kind of a shock. I'm all for second chances, and looks like I like John, and he knows that program in and out. Maybe too much for some people's liking, as far as like all that stuff that went down. I mean, he maintained his innocence throughout that whole thing. But Berlin said, "Oh, you know what? Let's bring old John back. Why not? And they who do they kick off against? Pete? They start with
Oh, geez. God, I should know who this is because I have the
just
schedule up in front of me. They have New London. Yeah. New London, who also has a new head coach in Marquise Ruffin, who takes over after New London went to the playoffs last year. So new coaches.
Yeah, right. So let's just kind of break down the whole thing here. At Ansonia, obviously, top assistant John Mihalko. A Shelton alum, by the way. A Shelton alum taking over Ansonia. Well, what will they think of next? Derby alums over at Ansonia. I mean, I don't know, but he's now he's the top man. He's takes over the defending Class S champs, which Tom Brockett didn't have that hanging over him when he first started. They didn't even go to the playoffs when Tom started. And Mihalko goes right in there, but hey, listen, he's a program guy. He knows what's going on. He goes right into the fire, though, in their Alliance game. That's a whole nother thing. Their first ever Alliance game up at the Bloomfield Thursday night. Be there, be square. Running down the list, ATI has Tim Smith over from Danbury because Chris Pace went to Massac. Chris Pace taking on another state champion. New head coach taking over a state champ, but Pace has been at Bullard Havens, did a great job at ATI, and now he takes over a program that is right coming off a state title. Over at Bacon, former Thames River coach Sean Ledega is now there. We talked a bit about John Capodice at Berlin. Ryan Pearson, the former Trumbull back, now and top assistant for Chris Haley, takes over at Law. Chris Pace at Massac. Over at McMahon, Damian Vega, former Senators quarterback from 2011. He replaces longtime program coach Jeff Quiroga. Middletown, the big one, Dario Highsmith, the all-state quarterback, and his crew of all-state caliber alumni are all taking over the reins over at Middletown, hoping that they can get that program back to their playing glory days. So that's a fascinating hire. New London, we talked about. Another guy who played at New London, Marquise Ruffin, takes over there. One of the new programs this year, Nottawag, kind of being ejected or extracting itself from the Northwest United Co-op. They're in there with a couple of the former schools. Scott Lynch takes over that program. Steve Calland, the former East Catholic coach and his double wing, replaces Dakota Fleming over at Ram. Simsbury, a Massachusetts guy. Vinny, how do you pronounce his last name?
Guile?
Vinny Guile? Yeah, Guile. He crosses the border to take the head coaching job at Simsbury. Stafford Co-op, Devin Gilbert takes over for your boy, Brian Mazzoni. Did just an amazing job there. Brian jumps to an assistant role at Enfield, which I believe his son is going to be playing there, right, Pete?
Yes, and Brian's a teacher at Enfield as well.
Right, so that's going to be a lot less of a drive for him. He doesn't have to worry about a 295.
And we're going to get information from Enfield.
Actually, you didn't have to worry about that anyway. What's that?
That's a win. We're going to get information from Enfield this year because Brian will always get his box.
Attaboy, Brian. Yeah, he was the best with that. We love him. Moving down, Matty Jackaliff takes over for Adam Behrens, who stepped down. We didn't really mention that. That's one of the big coaching moves. Obviously, Adam hadn't been here that long, but he did win Staples' first state championship since 2005, which is no small feat there, and he does an amazing job. He's at where? New Mexico State now?
New Mexico.
Adam?
University.
New Mexico. The University of New he's there now.
He's
and
assistant coach.
Big fan of the program, and we wish him
he's
well.
still watching. He told me he's still going to watch this year. That's what he told me.
All right, well.
He's going to show all the New Mexico coaches how we cover high school football in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So, hello, Lobos. Hello, Lobos.
Yeah. Hello, Lobos. Lobos. Ain't no Lobos. Anyway. So Matty, former Staples guy, now and an assistant. He takes over that program. He's pretty young. He's only 28 years old, which is crazy. Taking over Staples. Speaking of which, Phil Cohen assuming the reins at Valley Regional Lime. He played there, had one of the great teams there. I guess it's 2013, lost to Brookfield, but in the semis. But a really great team he had there. He's been an assistant there forever, and they couldn't.
He was Don Mattingly, unfortunately. He was Don Mattingly, unfortunately. He helped get them there, and then he graduated, and they won the state title the next year.
Yeah, they won. They had John Pierre, right? John Pierre on that team.
Chris,
Chris John Pierre came back. But hey, listen, the one thing about that, I'll say, they didn't have to deal with eight. They didn't have 8 divisions there. I would have said that. I would have thought they would have probably won that.
Yes,
had they had 8 divisions.
True.
Well, Phil.
Always
sorry,
good time to bring up Don Mattingly though for our older listeners.
Of course. Yeah. He takes over for Hill Bunbley, who is now taking over at Waterford, just up the road in the shoreline and into ECC land. Hill was the coach for Valley for a few seasons, taking over for Tim King, and he's now at Waterford, replacing Zeph Nolda, who his team had a great year. And then obviously we talk about Windsor, Quinn Fleeting, the former quarterback for his dad, had another great run over there. Didn't win a state title, but some really great teams. He takes over there with dad, probably giving a lot of pointers in the background. Tom Unger, we mentioned, being the interim coach at West Haven. He was a former coach at Guilford. And then you have Windsor Locks Co-op, a guy, Andy Norridge, who took over the interim role midway through the season. Okay. And now is the head coach there. Woodstock, Connor Elliott, who won a baseball championship at Woodstock, is now the head football coach. Talk about your throwback guys. Eat your heart out, Bob DeMayo. He takes over for Sean Saucier at Woodstock Academy. Let's see if he can bring that baseball magic to the football team. And then lastly, we obviously talked about Sean Marinan. I mean, just one of the all-time great coaches in Connecticut. Back at Xavier, taking over for his former DC, Andy Guion. It's been 10 years since he's been away, and what can I say? I'm sure he'll get the Falcons running in the right direction. So, that's a mouthful. Lots of guys.
That is a lot of housekeeping. A lot of housekeeping.
Let's get to the good stuff now. We have a new thing this year. We're going to break down the top 10 right after this. But, Pete, let's break down the preseason top 10 football poll. Drum roll, please. No drum roll.
I'm not a music guy. I played the tuba, dude.
God.
I played the tuba. I don't
All right, yeah.
Well,
beat.
Something like that.
Okay. Anyway, with that said, let's get to the top 10 poll. Who else is number 1? Well, check it out.
High school football is back. And with the season set to start on Thursday, here is the GameTimeCT Top 10 Preseason Media Poll for the 2025 season. Coming in at number 10 is Staples. A new era is beginning in Westport, but quarterback Nick Weil is back after throwing for 2,174 yards and 24 touchdowns as he led the team to the Class LL semifinals. Staples opens up on the road against Glastonbury. At number 9 is Massac. The defending Class MM champions will have a new coach this season as Chris Pace takes over. The longtime coach will have key returning players from last year's team, including quarterback Aaron Champagne, who threw for 33 touchdowns. Massac opens in Waterbury against Holy Cross. At number 8 is Fairfield Prep. The Jesuits are coming off another solid season, which saw them reach the postseason. But it was another season that saw them lose in their final game. Prep hasn't won a state title since 1988. but they have one of the best passing quarterbacks in program history back in Robbie Manning, who threw for a school record 32 touchdowns last season. Fairfield Prep opens against the defending Class XXL champions, Greenwich. Coming in at number 7 is Brookfield. The Bobcats were one play away from capping off an undefeated season, but it wasn't in the cards as the Bobcats watched St. Joseph celebrate the win in the Class M championship. With star players like Thad Ballsy and Chase Sylvia back, among the 12 other starters, the Bobcats should be back in the mix once again in Class M. Brookfield opens on the road against Watertown. Almost at the midway point at number 6 is Windsor. The Warriors were the number 1 team in the poll for most of the season before losing their only game in the Class XXL finals to Massac. A lot of the dudes have graduated, and longtime coach Rob Fleeting stepped down. But A.J. Robinson is back for his 4th season as the Warriors quarterback, and Quinn Fleeting has taken over the program. Even with new faces, the Warriors will once again be competing for a state title. Windsor hosts Torrington to start the season. Now at the midway point at number 5 is Darien. No team in the state lost more from last season than the Blue Wave. 4 Division I football players graduated, and their starting quarterback transferred. But it's Darien and the Blue Wave always have talent. Remember the name Ryan Gately. He'll be a force on the defensive line. The Blue Wave hosts Naugatuck in the season opener. At number 4 is St. Joseph. Defending Class M champs have a ton of talent back and are primed to repeat as state champs. H.T. Jones, Jake Rios, Finn Kilmartin are just a few of the top players the Hogs have back that are ready to lead them to the program's 17th state championship. St. Joseph opens the season against Hand, the team they beat in last season's semifinals. Into the top 3 and at number 3 is Killingly. And boy, is this team loaded. Hayden Allard, you should know about him. Hunter Allard and Michael Allen are also dudes, but quarterback Quinn Sumner is a player who might not be a household name, but that would be a mistake. Killingly won the Class SS state title last season and is set to win another with 19 total starters back. Killingly opens the season against Bishop Hendricken of Rhode Island. At number 2 is Greenwich. The Cardinals took home the Class XXL championship last season, the program's 2nd in 3 years, and the team's defense looks scary this season. The trio of linebackers, Jack Kelly, Santi Parra, and Justin Carroll will be a force to be reckoned with. Hector Lopez will lead the offense after a season where he had 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns. Greenwich hosts number 8 Fairfield Prep in the opener. And the number 1 team in the GameTimeCT preseason media poll is Meet the Boss, same as the old boss. It's New Canaan. Who else could it be? The Rams are coming off their 3rd straight Class L championship, and no matter the changes in their lineup, the Rams always come ready to play. They have one of the best players in the state back in Andrew Esposito, and the all-time winningest coach in state history in Lou Marinelli. Program titled number 16 is in their sight. New Canaan opens the season on the road against Newtown.
Nice breakdown there, Pete. Quick and easy. That is your GameTimeCT Top 10 football poll. New Canaan, 3-time state champion. They were number 1 last year to start the year. We were all like, what is this? A joke? What a Darien all the way. That's, And sure enough, it was New Canaan once again standing on the podium at the end of the season. I had to eat crow on your behalf. It tasted terrible, but we both had Darien winning it, and New Canaan comes through in the end. And well, I had to kind of join the dark side. I'm sure you did. New Canaan is number 1 to start the season. I mean, right?
No, not for me, but yeah.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. Look, New Canaan's loaded. Guy? I am a Greenwich guy. I voted the Cardinals number 1. I think their defense is unbelievable this season. Carroll, Parra, Kelly, that linebacking core scares the bejesus out of me. And I think they're going to be locked down. New Canaan's got a lot of new faces, especially a quarterback. Their offensive line is phenomenal, but another new quarterback at New Canaan with Luke Robinson graduating. Obviously, they have Andrew Esposito. Luckily, Greenwich and New Canaan will play this season, so we'll be able to see them, kind of go and play. We won't have to guess. I think it's Greenwich's 6th game of the year, October 24th, 7 p.m. at New Canaan. That's going to be a good one. Not to jump too far.
Is that a Friday night?
At least that is a Friday night. So at least we'll have some clarity. We won't have to guess this show.
You love those Saturday afternoon matinee games. Over in the FCAC, the throwback to when the richest county in the state had like half the teams in here have lights.
Yeah,
we have Staples and all that stuff.
Oh, we have St. Joe's for that though.
Yeah, well, yeah, true enough. But even Greenwich was in one of those too. So all right, so you're a Greenwich guy. So New Canaan gets 15 first place votes, barely hangs on to Greenwich. So a lot of people like New Canaan down. Other than the 15, the rest of them didn't have them kind of drop them low.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like. But pretty much it's a 1-2 race here. Greenwich only 4 first place vote, but they're right behind in points, only like 14 behind. And then after that, it's a huge drop off as everyone just kind of rolls the dice or kind of throws a dart at the board. You have Killingly with 3 first place votes, which kind of shocked me, but okay, they were undefeated last year.
They're loaded.
Coming back.
They're loaded.
They lose Oates, the linebacker, right? And but other than that, everybody's back. Obviously the Allard twins. Allard twins unite. Yep. Anyway, so I mean Hayden obviously he's just great, and his brother Hunter is great too. Really good. And then at number 4, obviously St. Joseph. That's the defending state champion there, and they're loaded too, unless you talk to Joe Del Vecchio. Joe Del Vecchio is like, oh my God, we're terrible. We are awful. Oh my God.
That's every coach. That's every coach. Whenever we talk to them, we're like, hey, you think who's going to be number 1? And they go, please not us, please not us, please not us. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, they should be in that spot. They're a defending state champ. I mean, all the defending champs except for Ansonia, right? Am I right about that? Ansonia is in here. Ansonia did not even get into last year's final top 10, despite them winning. But New Canaan, Greenwich, Killingly, St. Joe, Massac in there, the double M champ. And then
is there a team in this top 10 that stands out to you that's maybe a little too high, or maybe you're surprised they're in the top 10, or maybe you didn't put them on your ballot at all? Because I have one.
I don't remember what my ballot was. We voted 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't vote for Darien. I didn't vote for Darien at all. I am shocked to see them up at number 5. Everyone is gone.
I voted for Darien. Listen, at this point, I've learned this over the last. I used to always try to really game it. I'd really not game it, but try to really figure this out. I would always this team is so hot. This team's gonna be, and I would vote for these Norwalk, man. Norwalk this year, right? While Norwalk was good, they were never top 10 caliber. But I would look at the talent. I'd be like, oh yeah. Now I go for preseason. I just go legacy now. I used to rail against that. So I put Darien in there. I put Windsor in there. I have Brookfield in there. Fairfield Prep. But
they got guys back. Windsor's got Robinson back. Brookfield's got Thad Ballsy and Chase Sylvia. Prep's got Robbie Manning back. Massac's got Champagne back. Staples has a lot back, including Nick Weil, the quarterback. Darien got gutted by graduation and the transfer of quarterback Ben Rolop. I mean, do I think that Darien's going to be in the mix? Absolutely. But right now, I don't think that they're a top 10 team.
Here's one I really was surprised that didn't make more of a wave, but was Notre Dame West Haven.
Yeah.
I could have I had them pretty high, I think.
So did I.
I mean, up in at least top 6, I think. And they got everybody back, almost knocked Darien off at their place. They were close. It was a close game. And they got everyone back, the quarterback, the running backs. They're big. I mean, I know Joe's like, just shut up.
Yeah, stop talking about my team. Stop talking about my team.
We stink too. Yeah, of course we do. Some other ones in there. I mean, Amity.
I think for Notre Dame West Haven, I think maybe some voters were scared that they got moved up to double L. But I'll be honest with you, double L is, I don't want to say easier, but it's definitely more wide open than it is in L. I think you can make a deep run in double L a lot easier than you can make a deep run in L. I think this actually benefits Notre Dame West Haven.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, look, there are obviously going to be some big time teams you're facing in the semis and the final.
In the semis, but you can still get there.
Yeah, just ask Fairfield.
Yeah,
Kennedy, first round.
Yeah.
Oh boy! Speaking of that, I mean, so go to the GameTimeCT to see where everyone lands, and that's basically your top 10 poll. This thing's going to change 100 billion times, and then we're going to end up with New Canaan at the top of it again. Watch, it's going to be, same thing, just now in December. But that is the GameTimeCT top 10 poll. Speaking of the NVL, I know I kind of threw Kennedy in there because the NVL was getting into the playoffs. just by playing each other. Meanwhile, everybody else who are in the FCAC, SEC, CCC, they're all knocking heads in all these alliance, the Connecticut High School Football Alliance games that they all play the first 3 weeks of the season. All the fanboys were dying to get NVL in there. Let's get them in. Let's get Antonio in. They don't play anybody. Let's really see what they're all
are
about.
Are the fanboys wrong? Because I don't think they are. I don't think
they're wrong in this case.
One time I support the fanboys.
Yeah, I don't think they're actually wrong in this case either, because it clearly wasn't helping Naugatuck.
No,
Naugatuck
and that's
would win.
Outlier.
Yeah, that's the big
one. And they
one.
remind me, and I'm going to say it, they remind me of Newtown pre-Alliance, where Newtown would steamroll over a much smaller SWC, go 12-0, and then lose in the playoffs. And they had some really good teams, some great players, Ben Mason, Julian Dunn. I mean, they had some great players who never won a state title because, I'll be honest, I don't think that they were battle-tested enough in the SWC to prepare for a double L tournament. And then you saw once they joined the Alliance and they played Shell in that year. They played, it wasn't NFA, that was Shelton. But they played like 3 Alliance games that year against true double L schools.
I think it was like
even
4.
L schools.
I think it was something ridiculous, like 4.
It was something crazy. And they went undefeated and they won the state title and they beat Darien. Now, you're going to look on paper. Was that team better than a team that had Ben Mason who got drafted in the NFL? I don't know, but they were wildly more battle tested. They weren't shocked to see a team like Darien in the state finals. And that I think truly benefited them.
The flip coin of that was similar. It was Ansonia in 2014, if you remember. They had the SWC NVL crossovers, and the NVL
Torrance and Joe Barlow.
Yeah, NVL got smoked. I think one team won. That the famous footage of, I forget who the Notre Dame West State. No, excuse me, the Notre Dame Fairfield kid. The famous footage. I'm like, this sums it up in one tweet or whatever it was. He was just running over a guy, just bang with his knee hit the kid's head. He was flying backward. I mean, it was Ansonia didn't win that year. I forget who won, but Ansonia was working on a 49-game win streak. They were going for Cheshire's record. They were going to tie Cheshire that night, atop of the all-time state leaders in that department of win streaks. And it was a tough fought game. It wasn't a great Newtown team by any stretch, really. I mean, it was all right. Obviously had Mason as I believe he was a sophomore at the time, but Ansonia got beat, in that game. And it wasn't a walk for them, and how they've been in the NVL and not played that game. Probably
how many times, to be honest, how many times does Ansonia play 4 quarters?
Yeah,
we've seen them. I mean, look, last year against Watertown, and we liked Watertown. Watertown was very talented. Brady Gamby was a really good quarterback. The starters were out by the 4th quarter. Obviously they play, Woodland really well, and Naugatuck is always a good one. But, more than half of their season, their starters aren't playing deep into games. And that hurts you when you play against teams who can do that, when you play against competitive teams and then you have to play a full game. I'm really interested to see how the NVL does.
Some of the ones that are fascinating, obviously Kennedy at New Britain. New Britain, both teams were in the Class AA playoffs last year. And, all right. And Kennedy got in at 7-3, if I recall correctly. And they got smoked by Fairfield Prep. Now, it's Fairfield Prep. We'll see what they do against New Britain. Also lost some guys. Ansonia, obviously, the big one. Bloomfield, that's 6 o'clock on Thursday. Everyone and their grandmother is going to be at that game. That's it's replaying the state championship. Ansonia absolutely buried him in. And you have a lot of guys gone from Ansonia, a lot of guys, some guys back from Bloomfield, so a little bit of even match. New head coach in Mahako. So the other one is we talk about Naugatuck. They almost beat Darien that time a couple of years ago, but still lost as a high seed to Darien. Came up there to their place in a shootout. Now they go to Darien and get to kind of cut their teeth there. They lost a lot of guys to Naugatuck. In fact, so many guys that Chris Anderson looks like he's going to switch to a double wing.
No, he's going back. I think they're going back to the spread offense. They were in. They were in that with Chet Hall. They were in that.
They're going back to spread.
They're going back to spread.
This is where Pete
I read all the previews.
Yeah, well, I did too. But you have better retention. You worked on all of them. So Windsor at Torrington's on Nasik at Holy Cross. So Brookfield at Watertown, which I don't know. Gamby's not there anymore.
This would have been a good game last year.
So, I mean, this is going to benefit all these NVL teams. And a big thing is because we still have this antiquated point system. the schedules everybody plays needs to be. They need to be a little bit more in you can't just play as a double L school in the NVL Kennedy. You can't just play a bunch of Class S and Class double S schools. It makes no sense. And then you're getting in. There's a team from double L sitting there going like, I played a SEC and a line schedule like Shelton. Let's say they were terrible last year, but why are they in over us? We'll kill them too. So at least you get that bit. I mean, I quibble with the alliance of how many games we need and if they should be rehashing the playoffs from the year before, but that's a whole another thing. So that'll be interesting. East Catholic at Woodland, by the way, that's a fascinating game.
Yeah,
joining
that one's a very good one.
On the other side, Woodland's got everybody
Brunetti,
back.
yeah.
Brunetti, who's great.
Yeah.
So that's a fascinating game. Was that Friday, I believe?
Yeah. Friday night.
So anyway, let's moving on. We'll get to some of the new programs we hear. Then we'll get into classes and picks and get you out of here. But first of all, we have only a few new programs this year. A lot of them co-op arrangements that changed a bit. Obviously, the big news was Northwest United getting disbanding, Nonawak taking over Lakeview and Chippewa, and then Lewis Mills absorbing Wolcott Tech into their fold. So Jason Pace gets a few guys there to help his cause. Another big one, though, was Plainfield over in the ECC absorbing Quinnebog Valley, which was Turtelot, Ellis Tech, and Putnam. So now they have an all-star team in the quiet corner, maybe to compete with Killigly there, right? Or no, they're in double A.
Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah, too bad. But but they got an all-star team there, so maybe compete for players. I don't know. Let me go to Ellis Tech and play for Valley Panthers, or go play for Chad Neal and Killigly. There are apparently a lot of Ellis Tech kids who play football, which is great. Love to see that. And the big one is Amistad, not necessarily a new program, but playing a full varsity schedule for the first time since like 2018. Kind of actually joining the fray. They're in the alliance. They're helping things out there to get a little schedule. They're an independent. But Amistad and New Haven, finally New Haven's got now more than two schools to contend with, kind of replacing that Hyde role in the past. And then speaking of cities, up in Hartford, big combination. Two former Thanksgiving Day rivals. They almost played for 100 years, Pete. Weaver and Hartford Public. They were gonna be on the alliance schedule this year, but then they decided let's form a co-op and merge our forces here. And now they bring classical in on it. But obviously the two big ones, Hartford. That's got to be an adjustment for the alumni up there. Harry Bellucci probably shaking his head. But hey, it's a different landscape up there. Magnets.
You know what? I'm sure. It might have been tough to swallow at the beginning, but I think for the success of football in the city of Hartford, I think this is a great move because Weaver's got a beautiful new field. I mean, Hartford Public has been successful. They went to the playoffs 2 years ago, right? They went to the playoffs 2 years ago.
Yeah, I believe so.
Jaden Booth,
or at least they were knocking on the door.
Yeah, I think they went to the playoffs. Jaden Booth is a really good player. And they had another kid who was first team All-State for us, I believe. Was that at Hartford Public a couple of years ago? Like, they have talent. Weaver's got the new field. I think it's a really nice combination up there for them. Mm-hmm. And I think this will benefit football in the city of Hartford.
Yeah. So those are the new programs. You have the two independents, Amistad and North Nonawag, which is now looking for a league. Valley Panthers. Quinnebog was in the CTC. They're in the ECC now with Plainfield being the host. Lewis Mills still in the CCC. Okay, that stuff. And Weaver Hartford. Actually, the Weaver Hartford
is in the Pequot
Classical. They're in the Pequot. They took over Weaver's spot.
Yeah, Weaver's spot in the Pequot. Yep.
Okay.
We didn't know that for a while, so it was very hard to even find out who was the head coach at that program up until like the middle of August.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of information coming out of Hartford.
Yeah. I don't know if New Haven's kind of looking at. They're going, we should do this. I don't know.
No, I think we'll see so if they're successful. I think that might I think change some minds because if you could, and I'm not saying Hill House and Cross or Amistad, but even like in Bridgeport, like you said, like Harding, Bridgeport Central, like
maybe not Bridgeport Central so much, but Harding Bassick. We're both going to the SWC next year.
Yeah, and even Bullard can get into the mix there. They got some dudes. Josh Headley's awesome.
Yeah. Well, let's get into all that stuff. Let's take a look at the big question is who's going to win the state champions, right? And this year, all the defending state championship champions are coming back to their divisions to defend their title. Last year, North Haven dropped down, but this year we're gonna have, we can have a repeat. Everyone can repeat. So we're gonna see how that goes. But we're gonna look at. There's a lot of interesting moves here, and there are a few things I'd like to discuss. But we're gonna look at the class divisions for 2025, and then we're gonna kind of take a broad view of it, and then we're gonna make our picks. Hold your breath. We'll make our picks for the 2025 season. Say that 10 times fast. All right, then I don't know. You want to? Well, I guess we'll start double L and go down, right, Pete? I think we started the other way.
Yeah, why not?
Year. All right. So let's take a look at what Class Double L looks like. It's pretty much the same. The only difference is Notre Dame West Haven, which dropped down. They were in there 2 years ago because they won the state title. Then they dropped down last year into L, and then they went to the semis. Now they're up again in Class Double L, and they replaced Norwalk, which dropped down to L. 22 teams, 8 majority FCA, 6 SEC teams, 5 CCC, 2 NVL, 1 ECC team, and the defending champ is Greenwich. All the same players here. It's with 6 playoff divisions and 8 teams each. And in the Class Double L, it's you have the haves and the have-nots. It's an easy one to get in, but then you got to win it all. You got to go through Greenwich or Staples or somebody like that. Pete, what do you think of Double L?
Well, Double L, we have said this over the years, with the expansion of the playoffs. And, there are teams that are always going to make the playoffs in Double L just because of how big they are and the way the points are set up. And you look at teams like Fairfield Prep, Greenwich, Southington, Staples, Trumbull, West Haven. Those are teams and programs that you think are consistently going to get into the playoffs. Glastonbury, it feels like if Southington has a down year, Glastonbury goes to the playoffs. When Southington has a good year, Glastonbury doesn't go to the playoffs. There's some interchangeable things there. Manchester kind of came in the last 2 years. They're going to rebuild. But those top 4 teams are always going to be in the mix in Double L. And are we doing our champ picks? Because I got mine ready.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go
in there.
I'm going for a repeat. I'm thinking Greenwich over Fairfield Prep in the championship. It's going to be a rematch of Week 1.
God help us.
I know, but I think Greenwich's defense is so good. I've mentioned those 3 linebackers at the top. Having a good defense does wonders in the playoffs. And I know they're going to have a new quarterback, but Hector Lopez is back at running back. He had 1,300 rushing yards last year, double-digit touchdowns. They got big receivers. They're all over 6 foot, except for Hudson Swires, who's 5'9", but he's going to be playing in the slot. And they got a tight end who's 6'7", and Michael Golden. He reminds me, just size-wise of Dom DeLuca when they won the title 3 years ago. And he was a big body that went to, I think, either Georgia Tech, one of the gold and blue schools that wasn't Notre Dame. Their offensive line is strong again, despite graduating Peter Von Velakis. There's actually another Von Velakis, Nicholas, who will slide in on the line. They're Greenwich. They're big, they're bad, and they got guys. And it starts with Kelly, Carroll, and Parra at the linebacker position, and they are going to dictate the success of this team is going to be dictated by those 3 guys. Not to put a lot of pressure on them, but that's the team I think is going to win Double L. I think Fairfield Prep is super talented. Having an experienced quarterback returning does wonders. Of the 6 state champions last year, 5 of them had returning quarterbacks, except for Greenwich, who didn't have it. They had a new quarterback and won the title, but I think having an experienced quarterback like Robbie Manning will do wonders. They have a lot to replace in graduation on offense with Finbar Malloy graduating, but Vinny Lombardo's back running the ball, and replacing Mason Frey is going to be really hard. He was a first-team linebacker. He's playing at Navy. He was a stud, but Fairfield Prep is so big. They have so many guys that are waiting for their opportunity. So I'm going to go Greenwich Prep in the finals, and I'm picking Greenwich. Prep, this isn't your year, I know, but Prep's been waiting since 1988. But it's a boring pick. It's a boring pick, I know, but it was a boring division.
It's very boring, especially this year. I'm interested to see with Notre Dame West Haven, 11 starters back, Joe Capasso, who threw for 2,000 yards and was
he's a dual threat.
It's not 3. He was a 2,000 all-purpose kid. He can do a lot there. Michael Ose and Ryan Malone and Tavion Simmons up front. They have a huge good dude, Jake Zulo. It's 6'2", not huge, I mean 6'2", 260. OLDL. All right, Joe, go get him. I'm interested to see what they bring this year. I'm sure Joe's kicking it. Sean, shut up, Sean. But as far and then other than that, Glastonbury, and they're pretty stacked. I mean, they lose Luke Shannon, who was like kind of their do everything guy. But Dante Castilla had a great year last year. He's a junior now, ran for 1,500 yards. They have some tall receivers. What is it? Connor Flaherty's back at quarterback. So I think they're going to be a team to watch here. That said, you basically made the case for Greenwich right off the top. Who will they play? I'm going to have to go with Fairfield Prep as well. I don't see many teams. I think West Haven really going to take a step back this year. Staples, obviously, very interesting to see with a new coach. Nick Wildback. So I think they'll be in the mix. What about Southington? That's going to be very interesting to see Southington.
They were very young last year. Southington was very young. They started a lot of freshmen, a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores last year. Nick Andrews started at running back as a sophomore. I believe their quarterback was a freshman, Nathan Pelletier. He was the first quarterback in program history to start as a freshman. He threw for 1,500 yards. A lot of their skill guys are back, but they're going to need to prove that they can win. They won 3 games last year in Rob Levesque's first season as the Southington head coach. They can't ride the coattails of recent success now. They have to go out and they have to prove it. Right. Could they? Absolutely. It's Southington. For that week 2 game against Glastonbury.
Look at Pete dropping knowledge, man. He gets 3 weeks head start on me. 2 months head start on me.
All up here.
He's just it's all there. All right. I'm going to say Greenwich over Fairfield Prep too. I think those are the 2 easy class. Well, that's pretty. Let's go down to Class L, which this year they added Bassick, which I don't know how their enrollment numbers work out there. They always seem to have something wrong with the enrollment numbers. According to the CIC, they got only 500 kids, but yet in their L or 560 something kids. Yeah. I don't really know how that works. But Cheshire, Hill House is up there now. Norwalk obviously down. The new Weaver Co-op is in there. They lose Fitch, Guilford, Notre Dame, obviously Simsbury. But the players here are back. The only players that really matter here are back. Darien, who played for 2 consecutive titles. The last 2 state championship games in this division has been New Canaan and Darien, and New Canaan's been in the last 3. This division's kind of tough. I guess I'll start. And I'm not going to drop knowledge on you like Pete, but it's a tough division. But a lot of these teams kind of fell back a little bit. Maloney lost a lot of guys, although people are telling us that they're going to be deceptively good. Don't sleep on them this year. I'm curious about what's going to happen with Shelton. Are they going to come back in the 3-7 season? Naugatuck, got a team that really needs to win that first playoff game, man. Maybe the Alliance helps them out. And then I go up the list here, and I think Darien got gutted. I don't see anybody beating New Canaan, so I'm going to just go straight off and say New Canaan will win a 4th state championship in this one. They got one of the best players in the state, if not the best. And Esposito and the receiver. I mean, he was great last year. Kind of did a little bit of everything for them once they figured out, wow, what a talent this guy. And then they have their defense has been great. So Vesely's done an amazing job with that. So I'm looking off the list. I don't see Platt's an interesting one. You can probably tell us a little bit about that. Newtown, all the offensive guys are gone, but the defense should be really good. But I don't see them breaking through. You know what? And I can't doubt Darien. I don't care who they lost back. I know Andy is going to be like, Sean, you got to listen to me. But I'm going to go to New Canaan, Darien once again. New Canaan wins.
Yeah, L is very similar to Double L this year, at least. We don't have a Maloney team that is returning a ton of star players. Over the years, they had really good juniors who would then become seniors. We went from Kelly to Martell. We went from Valentine to Nadinsky, a quarterback. We went from Boganicki to who was the running back who they had, number 25. He was really good. They always had guys. We don't know that right now. So I'm not writing off Maloney. I know, Kevin's going to love this. I'm not writing them off, but we just don't know about them. Platt, you mentioned Platt. Austin Standish, man. I know you love him. I love him.
Oh,
the kid's got ice in his veins. We have a story up on the website on Friday that went up. Read it. He had a great quote. He's like, yeah, all those, it was something like, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something like, yeah, all those comeback wins were great, but like I'd really like a couple of 14-point wins, to kind of ease it. But I mean, he's really good. He's only a junior. He's only getting better. He's got all the physical traits. For him, it's the mental game that he's looking to, get better at, and he's really talented. You saw him against Berlin in the comeback. Vasquez is a really good receiver for him. They got other weapons. Ludlow's interesting. They were pretty good the last couple of years. I know they graduated some guys, so I don't know how.
They graduated everybody.
Yeah, I don't know how in the mix they'll be. Ward is interesting. We were talking to those guys the other day.
Yeah.
James Delavope, the quarterback, I think he's in his 3rd or 4th year starting. They have a pretty favorable schedule. We were talking to them about it.
They got an Amity schedule, basically.
Yeah, they got Amity schedule. Last year, they opened with Simsbury, Bullard Havens, Bridgeport Central, Danbury, Stanford. I mean, 1, 2, 3. That could be 4-1 at worst, in my opinion. 5-0 if they can beat Simsbury in the front. Sorry, Chris. Cut this. Don't let them see this part. But, then they get into Staples, Wilton, and then West Hill, Norwalk, Ludlow. So,
right.
At worst, that might be, if they can start 5-0 and they lose to Ludlow, that's 7-3. If they lose to Simsbury, maybe it's 6-4. They have to get over the hump of beating Ludlow. Yes, they might look better on paper right now, but that's game 10. All the kids that are Ludlow that are new aren't new in the final game of the season. And another team, you mentioned them.
Yep. I forgot to mention Amity.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah,
I was just about to mention Amity. I didn't think you wanted to talk about your alma mater, and then I could hype them up.
No, Christian Luciano is great, and they got a lot of dudes back there. 7 starters. They don't have George. They don't have the schedule where they beat Shelton week 1. And I turned to George. I said, George, congratulations on being the first team to make the CIC playoffs. Because you just look at their schedule, you're like, I don't care what they do. They're not losing to these teams. Not losing to them. It was like Cross and Bassick and Harding. And it was just like, and so it was a foregone conclusion. Now they got to play. They got to start with Maloney. They got to play Notre Dame. Yeah. Saturday, I think I might go to that game at good old Newton Road on Friday night. But you were saying, Pete, you were going to give us your picks here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was going to touch on Amity, but you just did. But Christian Luciano is obviously, he's one of the better players back this year in the state. And let's not forget they have their quarterback back in Joe Puglisi. He played really well. I got to see them against Law last year. He's a really good, Luciano might be the guy that we talk about, but Puglisi's pretty good as well. But we're going to be boring. I'm copying your picks. I'm going New Canaan over Darien in the finals for the 3rd year in a row. Look, Esposito's amazing, and we're going to talk about him at length this year, but their offensive line is apparently huge. We got my guy, Adrian Delicata, 245. Ryan Francis, 275. Those are just the guys I have right in front of me, but they got big boys up front. Our guy, Dave Stewart, loves Ryan Brooks, says he's going to be one of the best linebackers this year. He's on the 50 to watch. It's going to depend on who is going to be the quarterback and how that player is going to perform. Look, you got Andrew Esposito. He's great, and you can hand him the ball off. We've seen him do it. But if you want him at his best, you got to throw him the ball. Yeah. I mean, I've seen this kid. I saw him in the scrimmage against Shelton, and he was just bigger, faster, and better than everybody on the field. And, he did it in grip it and rip it too. That's in shorts. Everyone looks good in shorts, but except for me. But he's an absolute stud. I mean, he is an absolute star. And it's going to be really interesting to see, kind of how the quarterback position kind of factors in to them, because you got to get Esposito the ball somehow. Yeah. But I'm going to go with New Canaan over Darien. I like Darien too. I know I wasn't poo-pooing them in the poll. I just need to see it from them. They graduated a lot. They graduated 4 Division I football players.
Yeah,
that's a lot. I mean, some schools
and
never had one in their
program.
Yeah, and one future one transferred. But Ryan Gately is really good, and I don't want people to forget about him. He was second team for us as a sophomore. He's going to be a senior this year. He's going to make them go defensively. He's really, really, really talented, and someone that we really need to keep an eye on. But I'm going with New Canaan as well.
Moving over to Class Double M. This is the one that surprisingly Massac won last year. Steve Christie goes out as a champ, and now he's gone. And then Chris Pace comes in, and lots of guys are gone from Massac. But Here, let's take a look at Class Double M. 22 teams here. Enrollment 612 to 508. 8 CCC, 5 SWC, 3 CTC. ECC's got 2. SEC only 2. FCAC just 1. Most of them are in double L. And NVL just 1. Kind of a weird division here. I went first this time, Pete. Just quick. The teams that are now here, East Haven. I guess they're up. Yeah, up from M. Fitch is down from L. Simsbury is in here. Valley Panthers, a new co-op. Now, not playing in Class S anymore, Pat. So here we go. VG Titans. And then, VG Titans are down from L. And the other, they don't have to worry about Cheshire, Hill House, Holy Cross, Platt Tech, Pomperaug, or Northwest United, which is gone. Pete, take a look at the teams here in Class Double M. Both of the finalists are back. Both lost a lot of guys, and both have new head coaches.
Yeah, they both have new head coaches. They both lost a lot of guys, but they also both returned their quarterback in A.J. Robinson and Aaron Champagne. But one team that really stands out to me here is Bunnell. I think we saw Bunnell take a pretty big step forward last year. They beat Massac in the regular season. They had some other really good wins. They then in return lost to Massac in the state semifinals, but they got there. They won that playoff game. I really, really like Bunnell this year. I think Roddy Ricketts is one of the guys that's going to really show out this year. He's picking up a lot of Division I offers. I believe he just got one from Nebraska recently. The kid is a talent. It's going to be on Coach Ty Jenkins to get him the ball. Ricky Miller was All-State for us last year. He's a really good lineman. That said, I do have Bunnell going to the state championship. I do. I have them taking that next step, moving forward and getting to the championship, but I got them losing to Windsor. I got Windsor in this one. A.J. Robinson, his 4th year as the starting quarterback. I know they lost a lot of guys. They lost a lot of dudes. Shout out John Manning. But they always have guys ready to go. I think Quinn Fleeting has been coaching under his dad for a really long time. He's very experienced. And I think when this is the year Windsor gets back to being a state champion for the first time, was it since 2015? So I'm going to go with Windsor over Bunnell in Double A.
That's a really good one. I don't know if I can kind of make the move on Windsor. I do think Bunnell's going to get there. I think Bunnell's going to win. Just looking at this. They got some dudes on that team. Windsor does too, obviously. I could see them both playing the final. I'm looking at their other list. Who else is in there? Newington certainly don't have as many starters, but they have Heath Whedon, the linebacker, who's great. Josiah Sims can kind of do it all for them. So if they can get the other players in there, Victor Rodriguez, get those players in there, I think Newington's going to be pretty good. They were in the playoffs a year ago, avenged that great Thanksgiving Day loss they had to Wethersfield and went on to the semifinals. Other teams in there, I'm really interested to see how Chris Pace does at Massac. He's a very good coach. I think they're going to be fine. They have Champagne, like you mentioned. And then the rest of the division is kind of up in the air. Bethel is very interesting. They don't have Josh McComber. That's a great job that he's in my DMs.
Nick Tarantino.
Nick Tarantino. Sorry, Nick. Nick's in my DMs. I got to fix this. Anyway, but he did a great job first year out of the box. Obviously he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder there in the SWC coaching at a rival school from his beloved Newtown where he graduated from, but did an amazing job there. Really he's done a good job. I'm very fascinated with how they're going to do. I'm looking for Wilton. I don't know what Wilton's got coming back. Now, obviously, Charlie Calabresi's kind of moving around their lineup there. But, there could be a team, though, to watch out because, your boy, EJ, does a great job there.
He makes magic, man. He makes magic.
But what will Sean Marin and Magic work immediately at Xavier? I don't know. That'd be a fascinating. That way, I think. That said, I think Bunnell Windsor are the 2 top team in the conference. I'm going to go the other way on. I'm going to say Bunnell wins the state championship, but who knows? All right, moving down to Class M, where we had a classic last year. Brookfield, an all-time great team. Lost to St. Joseph on a 2-point, had to come back from 3 scores down, lost on a 2-point conversion stop at one of the final plays of the game. They got some guys back. Let's take a look at Class M here. 507 to 405 enrollment. 22 teams in here. Kind of balanced. SEC 4, CCC 3, NVL 3, ECC 3, SWC 3, Pequot 3, CTC 2, and the FCAC comes in with just 1. But that 1 is your defending state champion, St. Joseph, and they are loaded. Sorry, Joe. They've added Coventry. Guilford comes down from L, which is kind of fascinating. Holy Cross Platt Tech, Pomperaug, Waterbury. Career gets bumped up to this division, but they lost a lot of their good guys, David Rivera and Dylan Rossi. So we'll see how Waterbury Career does here. No Hand in this division, which they have dropped. Hand is enrollment has been decreasing, and now they are a Class SS school. We'll get to them in a bit. So that Saturday afternoon matinee game everybody's waiting for, the rematch, St. Joe versus Hand, might be a little different this time. Neither team has any love for the other. That was a contentious game at the end of in the semifinals over at the Surf Club, and I know for a fact that both teams do not like each other. So let's put them together for week one, shall we? Anyway, that's
because the algorithm. The algorithm did it. The algorithm did it.
What was Dave Stewart? The algorithm with a big AL as in Al Carbone. The algorithm. That's how we get things done in the. Forget these computers. Let's just go to the algorithm. Anyway, so that is Class M. Let's take a look at it. North Haven's in here. Obviously, Artie McCormick, the sophomores, coming off a crazy season. They're a team to watch. Very fascinated with Notre Dame prep. They had a down year after being in the playoffs the year before. Lots of starters back. Jordan Razor being one of them. He's now moving from quarterback to receiver, and defense should be pretty good for them. Let's talk a little bit about Brookfield a bit. They graduated Michael Walters, the running back, and one of their big linemen, Nathan Kennedy. But 14 combined starters return, including two of my guys. First team register also there, Thad Ballsy. And the linebacker, junior, he wasn't first team, he was second team, but he was on the cusp. Jay Sylvia, who is amazing. He's going to lead that defense. Brookfield is going to be very good this year. They just need to make sure they get that running back locked down. Walters did a ton for them. I like them. Moving down a bit, other than that, St. Joe, Waterbury Career Academy, talked a little bit about it. I think those are the heavy hitters here. Lyman Hall, Ryan Case is 3-year starting quarterback, and they have Braden. I always screw up his name and his old man. Atajian, right? Oh, jeez. But they have they have 12 combined starters back, and they did a really nice job last year. So keep an eye on Lyman Hall. Guilford, they don't have Hillier anymore, who pretty much did everything for them, but they got some kids back there as well. 15 combined starters. I'd love to see how they're going to do. But that said, Pete, I hate to just sound like a broken record, but St. Joseph all day, every day, and twice on Sunday is going to win the state championship again. Add to their collections. Who will they beat in the final? Pete, I'm going to say it's going to be a rematch. Brookfield versus St. Joseph. I don't really see any others in here. I'm actually, I got a little shout out. I know he's glad. He's like, oh, they didn't mention me. Brantford. Brantford's got 17 starters back, and they all were kids, like underclassmen. They all played last year because everybody got hurt. Their schedule's pretty good. You probably could see Brantford in the playoffs. Don't shoot me, guys. I swear to God. But that said, I'm going to go Brookfield and St. Joe, the two classes of this division right now. I'm going to take St. Joseph over Brookfield again. Pete.
Yeah, I'm picking St. Joseph over Brookfield, too. I think St. Joseph is loaded this year. I really do. They have, what was it? They got 11 total starters back, but H.D. Jones had a really good sophomore year. Jake Rios is a fantastic overall football player. Will Zacagino,
yeah.
Zacagino.
He
picked up an offer from Syracuse. He's a big body on the line, 40 pounds. And St. Joe's always in the mix. I'm going with St. Joe's over Brookfield again. I think Brookfield's going to get back. I think it's just going to be another classic game. Ballsy and Sylvia are absolute studs, but it's hard to pick against St. Joe, so I'm going with the Hogs.
Yeah, going with the Hogs too. I don't expect Brookfield to get down 2 scores again, whatever it was, 3 scores, 21-0. I mean, it was before they showed up. And a little too late. All right, that's Class M. We got 2 left, Pete, before we shut this down. We're a little over an hour here, but moving on to Class SS, 404 to 337, 23 teams here. Defending champ is Killingly, and just like them, they ECC kind of rules the roost here. 5 teams in this division. The CCC's got 3, SCC only 3, SWC 3, Pequot 3, CTCC 3, 2 independents, 1 MVL. And that's how that looks like. Krek has moved down from M. Hand, that's the big one, obviously moving down from N. Law moving down from N. They're like, wait,
what is it good for?
No, but Law is like, oh, thank God we escaped Hand and M. And they're like, oh man, what is this? So they gotta play maybe Hand in this. Ram down from M, and they also lost though big loss here. Sheehan, which was moved out of the Urk in the final last year, and they moved down to S. Tallinn, Wolcott, and as well go down to S. And Coventry Co-op moves up to M. Is it my turn? No, it's your turn.
It's my turn.
Your turn to go start. Yeah, so break it down for us.
Double S. I'm sorry, double S. I'm going to break it down for you real quick. Here we go. You ready? It's going to be real quick.
Yep.
Killingly. I'm going to go with Killingly over Daniel Hand. I didn't have Hand in my top 10. I didn't even put them on my ballot. But they got a lot of new guys. A lot of guys graduated. But obviously Connor Casagrande, Tim O'Malley are back. Look, Hand's going to be competitive. Hand is always competitive. They're going to be in the mix. Let's see if they can get through that schedule. They open up with St. Joe's, North Haven, and Brookfield. Then they finish with Prep, West Haven, and then Guilford. Those are some big schools. Maybe not the talent that they've had in years past like West Haven, but they're still a double L school. Is going to have a lot of bodies. Hand is a double S school. But I got Killingly in this one. I think the Allards are too much. I think Michael Allen is too much, but this is one guy that we really have to keep an eye on, and I think he's going to take a huge step forward, and that's quarterback Quinn Sumner. We've seen them bring quarterbacks along slow, started as a freshman, didn't throw that much, started as a sophomore last year, threw a little bit more, and I think, or last year as a junior, threw a little bit more, and then I think this is the year we could see him take a step forward, much like Thomas Drables did in 2023. I think he kind of fits that same mold. So he's a guy, obviously, we know the Allards and we know Michael Allen, but Quinn Sumner is the guy to look at. So I'm going to go with Killingly in double S.
Far be it for me to disagree with you on that, Pete, and I will not. Killingly all day, every day, and twice on Saturday, in this case, I guess. Killingly's class of this division. That I am fascinated to see. Hand schedule is absolutely ridiculous. Now, for class double S school, it's an FCC tier 1 type of schedule. Yep. It is monstrous, and so when you first look at it, you're kind of like, geez, I mean, how could they survive this and get to the playoffs? You say, well, they're in class double S, and they have that alliance booster in there that's going to help them out, and then playing all those top double L schools and L schools, they win enough of them. They don't have to win all of them. They win enough of them. Hand is going to qualify in this division, and it may not be as a top seed, but they're going to muck things up. They really got a really good schedule. Let me just quickly, I got to break it down for you. So let me find it here. Hand is, of course. Oh yeah, here it is. So here's Hand's schedule. They kick off with, let's see here. They kick off with St. Joseph, right? That's right. Obviously, 1:30 over at St. Joseph this time. Be there, be square. Then they play North Haven, which we'll see how North Haven's got. Then they play Brookfield, a Class M contender. It's like almost as if their schedule was made for a Class M team, huh? Well, unfortunately, that didn't quite work out. Then they play Hamden, one of the largest schools in the state, in Hamden, but still trying to find its way. Cheshire, always tough. Xavier, Shelton, Fairfield Prep, and West Haven and Guilford. Now, you might not think that's too tough, but when you think of it, these are all great programs. And then you add Brookfield and St. Joe's in their alliance game, the two defending finalists from the M. That's a tough schedule. But all they have to do is win 7 games out of that. Even 6 games will probably get them in double S. I don't see a lot of teams in double S other than Killingly. Maybe throw Law in there. Let's take a quick look at Law's schedule. Geez. At Lyman Hall, Xavier, Killingly, Notre Dame, West Haven, Brantford, East Haven, Shelton, Hampton, Fairfield, Prep, Foreign, and they got a tough one. They got a tough one too. But again, it's Class SS. A team I'm really very interested in, real quick, is Granby Canton. You know, it's one of those teams that's really good in the regular season, and they get into the playoffs. They're kind of like the Noggy of Pequot. They lose in the first round every time.
Every time, and they're the home. They're the home seed a handful of times.
They're always the home team. Yeah, and they lost to Sheehan last year. You know, granted, that's not too surprising. They got a lot of guys back though. The lines, they have 4 all-conference defenders. Offensive playmakers are wanted, but they always have a pretty good job doing that. But yeah, it seems so easy to just go, well, I guess Hand and Killingly, the 2 top teams in the division. And I'm going to go with Killingly. They're just stacked. I could see that game being good because, Hand always, brings it. Whatever. You don't see a team like Hand. But, Killingly is no stranger to the Shoreline. They played Guilford last year and did a really number on them. But right now, Waterford lost some dudes, although I do love, who is that kid? Parker Spencer is very good. They have a new coach and everything, but lost some guys there. Wyndham got gutted. Ledger's another one to watch, but overall, I think they're gonna be killing over Hand in that final. Pete.
Yep, that was the same one that I had.
Yeah, that's right.
As well.
You went first.
I did go first.
You did go first, and then last but not least, we go to Class S, the Ansonia Bloomfield Invitational. They are playing the state championship on Thursday night. Be there, be square. At least a preview of the state championship. It's been them the last 2 years? No, right? The last 2.
2 out of 3. 2 out of 3. Bloomfield beat Cromwell Portland. Yeah,
that's right. But either one of them has been in the final. Bloomfield's been to 6 straight finals. Has one championship to show for. I'm sure they were dying to get Ansonia back. But that's the headline. Listen, Ansonia, they lost their running back. They lost some guys. But Christian Fogel showed glimpses. He showed you what he could do last year. He's ready to kind of take over for Whittle in that backfield. Jaden Will, speaking of Whittle, is a stand on the line with Red Romanowski. Yeah, boy. He did a nice video on him. Check that out. Brian Carpenter on the words. One of the most delightful players to interview after game, because he is just. He's a faucet that just won't shut itself off. He just gives you everything you need, and he'll ask you if you want more. He's a great player, 2-time All-State. He's going to probably be a 3-time All-State. Ansonia is a program that right now they're the favorite in there, and obviously they have Bloomfield. You have 10 starters back, and I hope they burned the tape from that Ansonia game last year, because they just fell apart. Not just on the field, but in their heads and on the sideline. It was not a pretty sight there, so they got to get it together with Bloomfield. But I still think they're a good team to watch there. East Catholic is one that I'm really excited to talk about. They lost their quarterback, but Joey Montalvo is one of the best players in the state. The kid is just electric. I saw him just instantly change that Tolland game around, and I really think that they're going to and he's on the verge of school state records, I guess. But losing Morales is tough. I guess he's going to be a quarterback. I mean, I saw pictures of him in the shotgun, in the Wildcat formation there. And anytime you have the ball in Joey Montalvo's hands, he's a basketball player, he's an athlete. He's not very big, but that really helps him out. I would like to see East Catholic. I think East Catholic making a little bit of a run here. But another team that's really interesting is Northwest Catholic. They've got probably the best pitch-catch tandem in the state, with quarterback Vincent Burbank and Caden Davis, 2 guys that are all-state caliber kids. We didn't put Burbank on the 50 players to watch, and maybe that's an oversight. I mean, when you get to 50, it's like, who are we putting on? He was maybe a 51 or 52. Maybe he should have been 30. Who knows? But those guys are great. And Northwest Catholic can certainly make some noise here. And that Thanksgiving Day game between the two is going to be pretty good. But now you also have Sheehan down here, Pete. I have a hard time with this division. It's a loaded division. This is a division you can't go 7-3 in. It's just loaded. Competitively, and that said, that's a tough one, Pete. Man, I'm gonna put. I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm gonna say Northwest Catholic makes it to the final.
Wow.
I think they play. Does Mahalko win his first year like Brockett did? Does that happen? Man, for some reason, neither one of the two is not making it. I'm going to say Ansonia makes it. They play Northwest Catholic. What the heck? Why not stay with a good bet? I'm going to say Ansonia wins state championship repeats. We got all these repeat winners, Pete. That's what I got. I'm sure I forgot someone in there, but what do you got for Class S?
Well, there was one team that you forgot to mention, Sean, and that's Woodland. And I know we talked about them a little earlier in the show.
Forgot Woodland.
But Woodland is stacked this year. Look, they came seconds away from beating Ansonia in the semifinals.
That's right.
And I'm convinced that they would have went on and won that state title. Lato's been there. This is his 5th year. Joe's a great coach, and we know that he's won everywhere he's gone. Jack Brunetti, we talked about earlier, is an absolute stud at quarterback. Look, you look at his receivers: Norman Cook, Eric Polkinen. I'm not very good with last names, but they both had 40 catches last year. They both had 6 or more touchdowns. It's going to be a fast-paced, moving offense. Kevin Roberts wrote a really great story on them, and our producer Danny did a video on them, so go check it out. It's really good. I really like Woodland. And another team I like in S, they're back, baby. It's Sheehan. Sheehan lost in the Double S finals last year, and they're back in S, where they won their title in 2019 with an absolute stacked team. They did graduate. They graduated some really good players, but Jake O'Brien's back under center. I know when you love when I say that. Josh Duran at running
it's usually
back
behind
the
center.
Guy behind center.
Is he in a shotgun?
Yeah. So I really like Sheen as well. All the teams you mentioned, I think S is going to be really interesting this year. It has the chance to be one of the more interesting classes.
Yeah.
Some of the others don't really have that. But for my picks, I'm going with Sheen back on top, and they're going to beat Woodland in the championship. I got Woodland and Sheen in the finals. I got Sheen winning that championship game.
Yeah, Pete. You the two teams I skipped over. I was reading my notes here. You just nailed it right there. Those are two teams. Probably
that's why we work well together.
That's right. Well, this is why I read all your previews. Those teams are the two loaded teams of the class. That's an easy one there. I already made my pick. I said Ansonia, but oof, yikes.
Yeah, but Northwest Catholic's a good pick too. You mentioned
I like Northwest
Burbank
Catholic.
And Davis. So
they're
going to throw the ball.
CCC teams don't do usually that great, but I think they're going to be pretty good. But now if I looked at it, let's see. When is Woodland playing Ansonia? That's October 24th.
That's when Greenwich. That's when Greenwich is playing New Canaan.
Well, guess what? I will be at Ansonia Woodland then, most likely. That's a great game on the new turf up there at what do they call it? They don't call it anything, right? What's the field called? Do they have a name?
Oh,
no.
Woodland.
It's at Woodland.
It's Kyle Brennan Field.
The Kyle Brennan Memorial. Gone but not forgotten. And you look at their schedule. They play East Catholic, on Thursday. What is it? Thursday, right?
Friday night.
Thursday.
Friday night.
Was that Friday night?
Friday night. That's the 12th, right? The 12th would be Friday.
That is going to be one of the most underrated games out there. It might be one of the best games to see if you're. It's going to be at Woodland too, so be there or be square. They got Naugatuck week 2, and then Watertown Crosby. They kind of go back a bit. Then Ansonia, and then it's basically we want to throw Holy Cross in our cruise to the playoffs for Woodland. Sorry, Joe, but Joe, like you said, Joe's done a great job of Sheehan. Look, Farazi being in this division with his guys, all his guys back, they are loaded. I mean, who are some of the AJ Tatro and Richard Van Dyke? They're 4 years. 4-year and 3-year starters right there to studs.
Yeah.
There's some of the guys there. So, I would not be shocked if you're correct. I'm probably going to be dead wrong, but I'll just stick with it because last year I stuck with West. I'm like, I can't believe I picked West Ham win the state championship. And I said, they're going to be Prep in the final. You're like, I'm going Prep all the way. I watched the preview the other night. And Prep all the way. Then West Ham did beating Prep. So in that way, I kind of won that division. But you're the one who
but Prep beat him on Thanksgiving. I did.
Prep did, but then West Haven turned around and beat him in the playoffs.
Yeah, so
but you did nail Massac. Although they don't remember you at Massac, Pete. They more remember Scott for being the only guy to pick them to win that class double M final.
They hated me. They hated me at one point last year when Greenwich beat Bishop Hendricken, Windsor beat Darien, and they beat New Canaan all in the same night. And I was at both the Greenwich and the Massac game. And I threw on Twitter, I was like, well, I guess Greenwich will be the number 1 team in the Connecticut poll and the Rhode Island poll. And no one from Monroe found that funny. I thought it was absolutely hysterical.
I thought it was funny.
I thought it was so funny. And then Greenwich was number 1. Then they lost to Wilton, and Windsor became 1 because Massac lost to Bunnell.
Yeah,
which I was at that game also. I didn't. There were not many Pequagga fans in Monroe. I think Nick Fox liked me because I was always hyping him up, but I don't think the rest of Massac did not like me last year, despite me picking them to win the state title.
Yeah, they bronzed Scott Derrickson. They put a statue right out there at Benedict Field. So you're like, who's this guy? He's over. He looks out of shape, and he's got 3-day-old stubble there, and that's Scott Erickson who got bronzed because he picked them to win the state final. You were the only one who believed in us. So, all right. So those are the divisions. Like I said, I'm a little behind. Pete's really got the scouting report nailed on me, but I have some time to check out a bunch of games and see how it goes. I mean, we got but before we get out of here, I mean, look, it's basically Alliance week 1 for this, and they go play week 3. This is the NVL week. The NVL joins, and then in week 3 you have the CCC joins, and then all the other ones are all in there. And I don't know if we mentioned all of them, but obviously Friday night. Well, you start off actually Thursday night. You had Ansonia Bloomfield, obviously huge, right? Sheehan Waterford's interesting because of that. And then that's basically Thursday night. Friday night, number 8 Fairfield Prep at number 2 Greenwich Pete. You will be there. A good chance for your 2 finalists, right? Our finalists to go after each other, just like last year. West Haven, Greenwich. This is what the Alliance does. It drives me just nuts. You got to replay these. We see these teams down the road anyway. That removes all the mystery. So Greenwich beat Greenwich beat West Haven to start the season. And basically the same thing in the final. Nothing changed. So there's a preview right now. 8 Prep at number 2 Greenwich. And then you got number 1 New Canaan at Protege Newtown, 7 o'clock. That's another good one. Naughty at Darien. Number 7 Brookfield is at Watertown. Which we'll see what Watertown brings, but Brookfield's
a year late in a dollar show.
Yeah, that's how these schedules work now. Everything is based on last year. If we had these schedules last year, it'd be great. Yeah. But this year, and then these prorated schedules, just really quick on this. The FCAC is now doing this thing. The SEC is done. The NVL's done it, where the best teams get matched up with the best teams, and it goes down. And when you end up having the teams that struggle beating a weaker schedule, and then it just skews the results. So the tough teams got to play the tough teams, while the other and it's they got to be built up and everything. Yeah, but you don't have to play it. The whole schedule doesn't have to. We need to balance the schedule out. This Alliance thing just drives me nuts, as you all know. I like the 1, but after that, I'd like to go to a more balanced schedule. I know it's tough to do, but geez. Massac at Holy Cross, number 9, and number 10 Staples at Glassbury. Another fascinating under the radar game. Matty Jackliff starts off week 1 as the head guy now, and he's playing a Glassbury team that's pretty stacked. So that'll be interesting. And then, tons of other games going on out there. Bologna, Amity, I might check that one out on Friday night. Yes, George, I'm coming home. And then Saturday, I don't know if there's any other games you want to talk about here, but Saturday, Pete, obviously the big one, 1:30, be there at B Square, hand at number 4, St. Joseph.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Even on Saturday, I think Wilbur-Cross and Bridgeport Central is interesting. Obviously, Bridgeport Central is 1 loss away from tying the state record for most consecutive losses. I think it's a winnable game for the Hilltoppers. Not to put too much pressure on you guys, Coach Miller. And, they're both programs that have been struggling. So one of these teams will start the season 1-0, and a win early can change a lot of things. And obviously another game on Friday out at Bunnell. I know Wethersfield graduated some guys. Obviously Cam Regi is one of those guys who graduated. He's at UConn playing baseball now. But I want to see Bunnell get off to a hot start. I picked them to go to the finals and lose to Windsor, but I think they need to get off to a hot start this year. I like Bunnell a lot this year, so I'm really interested to see how they get started against Wethersfield.
How about Bishop Hendricken, your favorite Rhode Island, Connecticut team in the Alliance?
It's the weirdest thing.
It is.
It's weird that they were in last year, and it was weird, but they played Greenwich really well. Greenwich needed to score in the last 30 seconds, last minute to win. And then Fairfield Prep blew the doors off of them. And now they're playing Killingly. So they go from playing two of the biggest programs in the state in Double L to playing one of the smallest schools in the state in Killingly. Great football team, great football program, not knocking them. But it's just really interesting that they went from playing those two schools to now playing Killingly. Now, that might be a travel thing, but it's just interesting. Yeah. And Killingly, I think Killingly is going to do fine against them. It's just very interesting to look at.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but that's your other big game there. They get Bishop Hendricken, that's not very far for them. Yeah. Probably what? It's 40 minutes tops.
I mean, it's a lot shorter.
Providence traffic.
It's a lot shorter than the trip to.
You got to go through all the hinterlands there. I don't know what was that 44 or I don't know.
No, I don't know. But yeah, the night game. Yeah.
We also have Ram at Westerly, Rhode Island, isn't it? Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
We had them. We added Westerly in here too. I didn't even notice that until just now.
I don't know if that's not an Alliance game. I think that's just a.
Well, it's on the Alliance schedule.
Oh, then maybe it is. Maybe it is. But football's back, baby.
Yeah,
we're back.
We're back. You're back. I'm back. We're all back, and everyone's back. And we can't wait to get started. There's a lot going on. I mean, again, pardon my lack of knowledge compared to Kelly's blue book over here. Pete,
the god,
knows everything. Reading off the screen. Oh yeah, they got a guy in the third string, man. I gotta watch out for him. His name is Joe Johnson. Oh God, let's get out of here. All right, Pete, that's the first meat grinder. We'll see where we go from here. And hope everyone gets out there. Like I said, subscribe. If you've gotten this far, we thank you for watching. And we appreciate it. So for People Gaga, I'm Sean Patrick Boley. Football's back, baby. Here we go. 2025. Let's go.
Love you all.